We apologize for interrupting your doom scrolling. Now, for some positive leftist news.
Stop your doom scrolling, everyone. It is time for some positive leftist news. I'm your host, Mexi, and I am thrilled to be bringing you a full episode of working class victories, most of which you are not hearing about on corporate media. So settle in and let's get into it. This first story is near and dear to my heart as someone living in so-called Canada, and great proof that sustained pressure works. In a significant move to curtail Canada's complicity in Israel's genocide of Palestinians, the House of Commons passed a motion to cease the further authorization and transfer of arms exports to Israel to ensure compliance with Canada's arms export regime. The motion passed with a vote of 204 to 117. The motion was put forward by the NDP, Canada's Social Democratic Party, and although the neoliberal government under Justin Trudeau watered down the motion by removing key provisions, including recognizing Palestinian statehood, ceasing imports from Israel, and imposing sanctions on Israeli officials, it nevertheless brings Canada much closer to a full arms embargo on Israel. CJPME celebrated the victory while remaining disappointed with the watering down of the motion, and emphasized the need for continued pressure on the government to fully implement the motion and advocate for an end to Canadian involvement in illegal settlements. Vice President Michael Bweckert of CJPME stated, while imperfect, this is a tangible victory on the road to a Canadian two-way arms embargo with Israel. The NDP must not rest on its laurels and continue to fight Canada's relationship with the Israeli military-industrial complex. Supporters of Palestine in the city of Chicago made a bold statement by entering the Israeli consulate and staging a protest inside, as reported by a group identified as Kufia on social media. A video shared on the group's social media account captured demonstrators chanting "Free Palestine" in the lobby of the building while displaying a large banner reading "Stop US-funded Israeli genocide now." The protest occurred amidst ongoing demonstrations in downtown Chicago, where protesters carrying Palestinian flags demanded a ceasefire in Gaza. Protesters shut down major streets, with the waiting drivers expressing support, with fists raised, thumbs up out of windows, and horns honking to the rhythm of the drum beats in protest. Chicago is also the largest U.S. city to endorse a resolution for a ceasefire. Well done, Chicago. Protests erupted the 8th of March at Victoria University of Wellington during a lecture by Dr. Bonnie Jenkins, the U.S.'s Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security. Dr. Jenkins, responsible for overseeing AUKUS implementation, a military alliance between Australia, the UK, and the USA, faced opposition from student and activist groups. Around 150 people, predominantly students, gathered outside the university venue in Pipitea, representing various organizations including Justice for Palestine, Student Justice for Palestine Poneke, Stop AUKUS, and Peace Action Wellington. The protest aimed to denounce further collaborations with the USA, particularly in light of ongoing US-funded activities in Gaza. Inside the lecture hall, a peaceful protest unfolded as an activist initiated a moment of silence for Palestinians killed in what was called the US-funded genocide in Gaza. Amidst these interruptions, Dr. Jenkins was escorted away, and activists seized the opportunity to address the audience and screen an informational video highlighting AUKUS's association with US imperialism. Eventually, organizers announced the cancellation of Dr. Jenkins' lecture, prompting chants of "Free, Free Palestine." Samira Zayton, a Justice for Palestine organizer, stated, "For 5 months, Aotearoa has been calling for our government to do more to stop the genocide in Gaza, and for years we have been calling our governments to stand against Israel's occupation of Palestine. We are now at the juncture of tightening relations with settler colonies who will only destroy more lives, more homes, and more lands and waters. We want no part in this. We want no part in AUKUS." Millions of people worldwide, with over 100 protests occurring simultaneously, took to the streets on March 2nd in a global day of action, demanding an end to Israel's aggression in Gaza and its invasion of Rafah. Led by various organizations, including the Palestinian Youth Movement, the protests aimed to draw attention to the ongoing violence in Gaza. In New York City, despite heavy rain, 50,000 demonstrators marched. Cuba, a historic supporter of the Palestinian cause, also mobilized its people in solidarity. President Miguel Diaz-Canel announced Cuba's participation in the global protests, emphasizing the country's unwavering commitment to Palestine. These coordinated efforts reflect a growing international movement against the Israeli occupation. All Irish bands that were slated to perform at the South by Southwest Festival withdrew their official showcase performances, marking a unified protest against the festival's ties with the U.S. Army and defense companies. The decision, unprecedented in South by Southwest history, took place after it was revealed that the festival had links with the U.S. Army and defense corporations. Kneecap initiated the boycott, followed by other acts like Sprints, Soda Blonde, Gavin James, and Robert Grace, among others. The artist cited solidarity with the Palestinian people as a key reason for their withdrawal, condemning the use of weapons by defense companies in the region. Music from Ireland, the organizing body behind the Irish showcases, expressed support for the artist's decision and cancelled all official showcases. South by Southwest responded to the cancellations, defending its ties with the defense industry. However, this stance was met with widespread condemnation, most notably from a joint statement by 5 Irish bands boycotting South by Southwest, who said the excuses given by Southwest have been pathetic and reprehensible. There is no excuse for supporting the ongoing genocide in Palestine. We stand in complete solidarity with Palestine and others who have spoken out against and boycotted South by Southwest. We as Irish people have a lot of solidarity with the people of Palestine as we share a history of occupation and oppression by colonialist countries. We call on all of you to stand up and make your voices heard. Silence in the face of oppression is siding with the oppressor. In a landmark agreement, the Aotearoa Land Trust has brokered a deal with the city of Berkeley, the Confederated Villages of Lisjan Nation, and local property owner Reg N. Ellsworth to transfer a sacred Indigenous site known as the Shell Mound back to the Lisjan Ohlone peoples in the San Francisco Bay Area. After years of legal battles and community advocacy, the 2.2-acre Shell Mound, currently buried beneath a parking lot in West Berkeley, will be permanently returned to the Lisjan. Karina Gold, tribal chair of the Lisjan Nation, said the city of Berkeley and the Confederated Villages of Lisjan Nation joined together to right a historic wrong, resulting in the rematriation of our oldest shell mound and village site to its original people. This is not only the most challenging urban sacred site victory in California's history, it's also among the most culturally significant for the Lisjan people. Javier Milei's ambitious plans to reshape Argentina's economic landscape faced a significant setback as the country's parliament rejected his legislative program. Milei, who assumed office with promises to overhaul the economy and align Argentina with Western powers, encountered fierce resistance from both the working class and former allies within the capitalist elite. Milei's legislative agenda, aimed at suppressing labor movements and privatizing state assets, faced staunch opposition from workers nationwide. A turning point came with a one-day general strike organized by Argentina's largest union group, which saw widespread participation and solidarity demonstrations across the globe. The massive show of resistance rattled the country's capitalist establishment and raised doubts about Milei's ability to deliver on his promises. While hyperinflation remains a pressing issue, Milei's proposed solutions faced criticism for exacerbating economic woes. Lawmakers rejected Milei's ominous bill, a comprehensive package of reforms that included deregulation, environmental rollbacks, and privatization efforts. Despite attempts to suppress dissent through punitive measures and restrictions on public assembly, the opposition only grew stronger. Argentina's labor unions continue to gain momentum, posing a significant challenge to Milei's authority and agenda. While the old guard anticipates a swift end to Milei's presidency, there is newfound hope among the working class for a new era of liberation and self-determination. Pressured by teachers in Michigan, the state officially ended its right-to-work status, becoming the first state in nearly 60 years to repeal the union-busting law and restore bargaining rights. Democratic Representative Regina Weiss emphasized the importance of giving teachers a voice in determining employment conditions, leading to stronger schools and improved student outcomes. We are sending a clear message that we value and respect them. Spurred on by an ongoing union drive, Starbucks agreed to engage in negotiations and implemented key benefits for its workers, marking a significant victory in the ongoing battle for workers' rights. Representing employees in 380 Starbucks stores, Starbucks Workers United announced crucial gains, including the implementation of credit card tipping and wage increases previously denied to the unionized stores. Moreover, Starbucks has agreed to negotiate a contract, a notable departure from its previous refusal to negotiate and stonewalling tactics against the union. This shift follows persistent pressure from the union, which remains steadfast in its demands despite the company's efforts to thwart talks and escalate anti-union tactics. These advancements occurred amid a global boycott targeting Starbucks for its alleged complicity in Palestinian genocide. The boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement has significantly impacted Starbucks revenues, prompting closures of stores in countries like Morocco. While Starbucks denies the boycott's role in these closures, it has undoubtedly felt the financial repercussions, particularly in Africa and the Middle East. The ongoing successes of SBWU and the global BDS movement serve as potent reminders of the efficacy of grassroots organizing and collective action. By standing in solidarity with Palestine and amplifying workers' voices, SBWU epitomizes the potential of united efforts to effect meaningful change in the pursuit of justice and workers' rights. In Argentina, thousands took to the streets on International Working Women's Day to protest austerity measures and attacks on their rights, particularly by the administration of far-right President Javier Milei. The mobilization, which saw women, LGBTQ+ individuals, and their allies gather in cities across the country, was a response to Milei's policies that have targeted various sectors of society, including women. One of the key issues driving the protest was Milei's attempt to overturn the law legalizing abortion, which was passed 4 years prior. The move sparked widespread outrage and galvanized support for the mobilizations. Additionally, Milei's decision to shut down the National Institute Against Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Racism further sparked outrage. Critics see these actions as indicative of a government that is fixated on consolidating power. The mobilizations on March 8th were marked by a spirit of unity among various labor forces, with 3 major labor confederations coming together to denounce Milei's agenda. Overall, the protests on International Working Women's Day represented a battle cry against austerity measures and attacks on rights in Argentina. Thailand is moving forward with a bill to legalize same-sex marriage, positioning the country as a trailblazer in Southeast Asia. A committee within the House of Representatives has given its approval to a draft amendment to Thailand's Civil and Commercial Code, setting the stage for further legislative action. The proposed changes redefine marriage from the traditional a man and a woman, husband and wife, to a more inclusive 2 individuals and married couple, eliminating gender-specific language. It aims to ensure that LGBTQ couples enjoy the same fundamental rights as heterosexual couples under the Civil and Commercial Code. Thailand's latest bill not only allows same-sex marriage, but also grants rights to inheritance, tax allowances, and child adoption. Amnesty International Thailand researcher Chanatip Tattiakarunwong praised the development. By potentially becoming the 3rd place in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage, Thailand has the opportunity to set a bold example for LGBTI people's rights in this region. These bills and the debates in Parliament over them represent a moment of hope for LGBTI people's rights in Asia. France's parliament has made a major breakthrough towards addressing the environmental impact of fast fashion by voting in favor of a comprehensive bill that targets throwaway fashion and aims to promote sustainability in the industry. The proposed legislation, championed by MP Anne-Cécile Violent, garnered unanimous support in the parliament. Among its key provisions, the bill will ban advertisements for fast fashion products and impose penalties on low-cost clothing to offset its environmental footprint. The bill aims to curb the proliferation of cheaply made garments that contribute to environmental degradation and exploit labor. If enacted, this bill could be a catalyst for further action to combat fast fashion in Europe and beyond. A significant milestone in ecological restoration is underway with the reintroduction of a flock of finches to the Galapagos Islands, famously linked to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. The release, consisting of 510 finches from 5 species, took place on Floriana Island as part of a nature restoration program spearheaded by Ecuador's Ministry of the Environment. The endeavor underscores the importance of maintaining viable population percentages as a mitigation measure. The threat posed by introduced species such as cats and rodents has led to the disappearance of numerous endemic or native species in the region. To ensure the well-being of the released finches, tracking devices have been equipped, enabling researchers to monitor their movements closely. The reintroduction of finches to the Galapagos Islands signifies a pivotal moment in ongoing conservation efforts, working to restore the biodiversity of this iconic archipelago. In a landmark legal battle, Greenpeace Norway and Young Friends of the Earth Norway have emerged victorious against the Norwegian state over the authorization of 3 new oil and gas fields in the North Sea. The organizations challenged the legality of permits granted for 3 fields, arguing that the environmental impact assessments failed to adequately address global climate impacts, violating the Norwegian Constitution, European Economic Area Law, Norway's international human rights commitments, and the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. The court ruled in favor of the organizations, declaring the drilling permits invalid. The court also issued an injunction prohibiting the state from using any new permits required for the construction and operation of the fields. This is a historic win for climate action in Norway, highlighting the growing power of grassroots movements to enact change. If you have good news from the current month, please send your stories to mexi@protonmail.com. Thank you to Hobby for the positive news jams. Thank you to Cosmo for the positive news background. Thank you to Catherine, Marshall, and me for script writing, production, and hosting. You're welcome. And thank you to Tristan for editing this video. If you'd like to support the show, please go to patreon.com/positiveleftistnews, or you can give us a one-time tip via PayPal. The link is in the description box below.